My name is Bob Wickham. I am an adjunct instructor in visual communications at Madison College and reformed video producer and editor. So visual communications is a kind of spans an entire set of arts that includes graphic design, photography, videography, editing, special effects, animation. So the scope is rather wide. It's probably, for somebody who doesn't know anything about it, visual communications is probably what I would consider to be the closest to a real human experience for a person. So it is a merger of all of the senses put into one piece of media. And consequently, it's probably the most receptive of the arts for viewers. People love to sit and be entertained and have all of their senses kind of be stimulated. Luckily or not, from my perspective, I guess, I have about 40 years of experience in this business. Plus, I kind of grew up in it. So you learn the book things in any trade, but it's the experiences that you have that you kind of bring along that actually teach you the important things about the business, the nuances, if you will. So what I'm able to bring are the hard knocks, the failures that I've had over the course of my career, which I considered to be the highlights of my career, because basically this is an industry of kind of trial and error, and learning from those errors. And I fundamentally believe that if we do anything successfully, we kind of take all the credit for it, but if we fail, that's where our learning all happens, and that's where we get better. And so I'm hoping I bring a little bit of that into the classroom. I think this is my 6th year of teaching at Madison College, and so I came here as a practitioner in the business, and kind of had an opportunity to spend some time with students and to kind of watch them go through the chairs, so to speak, of learning their craft and then going out into business. And the disappointing part for me was that I would stay in contact with a lot of students who would go look for a job and then really would never connect. So their notion of working in the business ended up being going to Best Buy and working in the camera department or whatever. So they're kind of in the business, but really not. And so I've said it a million times, but you kind of lose it if you don't use it. And it was disturbing to me that our students weren't engaged. If they didn't engage in a job that was what we taught, where they were actually doing it every day or getting an opportunity to do it in one respect or another, that they were going to lose it, and that all of our efforts to make them successful were really in jeopardy. So I actually went to the dean along with our team lead, Teresa, and I had this idea that we would try to bring some market reality into one class. And so we were able to recraft a couple of our production management, or one of our production management classes, kind of divided up into a production management class and business in the visual arts. The focus of the business in the visual arts was much more entrepreneurial. So I kind of felt like we were preparing our students better if, at a minimum, they could become a successful freelancer when they graduated, got their diploma, and walked out the door. At least then we were preparing them to engage the business world. And I tell my business in the arts students that, for the most part, it's like going to a foreign country when you leave the school environment and you go into the business world. The language is different, the culture is different, and the way things are conducted is really different. And so if we could teach our students kind of how to have that experience, I felt that that was going to be at least giving them a better shot at getting out there. So we teach them how to incorporate themselves, how to engage the state, and how to understand the tax and business ramifications of being a practitioner in our business. We teach them kind of the proposal process and the client, the nuances of dealing with clients and with people who are actually going to pay you money to do this, which ultimately is capitalistic, but also is realistic about kind of what your expectations are. You want to be able to eat when you're done doing all of this. So, so those are key elements in the business and the visual arts program, and it culminates with an actual engagement. So I've been able to go out and actually get advertising agencies and clients in the Madison community to actually engage our class in a real live project. So the real live project kind of throws school out the window and actually kind of is a project that they have to work on, and the student gets paid a little bit. It's a nominal amount for participating. The student gets a let's see, they get a demo reel opportunity. They get something that they can put on their resume, and they get a little bit of money. And in return for that, a client in the community gets a pretty darn good video that's well-researched and addresses their issues. So, sorry for the long-winded answer, but it's a little, the first slice of reality that we can kind of put together for a student and have them have an experience before they go out into the business world. The class has had significant success, I think, since its inception, and it's become much more popular. This semester, I believe we have 15 students that are participating. We had 8 students do our first course, and so our first course was we had one client. That was actually the Creative Company, which is an advertising agency in Madison. Brought us the Willie Street Co-op as a client. So we had an opportunity, a really unique opportunity in that one to engage an advertising agency and understand how the agency acts on behalf of their client. So we actually have 2 clients. We have the agency as a client, and then we have the Willie Street people as well. So this is a cradle-to-grave kind of experience for them. We cut no slack for the students. They're put in a position that any video production company would be put in. They have the opportunity to then go ahead and visit the client, talk about the client's problems, come up with solutions for the client, and then creatively brainstorm for that particular client, come up with some ideas, draft a proposal, go back to the client, talk about what it is that they want to do, convince the client, maybe take some feedback from them, and then put the production into process, and ultimately deliver a final product by the end of the semester, which is kind of part of their, major part of their final exam. So it is front to back, a real life experience, and in all cases, the client introduces a whole new kind of reality. In the case of the Willie Street project, we began, they wanted to feature their on-site bakery or their near-site bakery, which is a couple blocks away, and the notion that they used locally sourced ingredients and organic foods. So after brainstorming and kind of coming up with some different ideas, we themed it. The students came up with a theme, which was the Willie Street Bakery, where the main ingredient is local, was kind of what they hung their hat on. And they chose to follow an apple through the entire process of becoming an apple pie. And so they divided up all the steps. They shot and produced those, each of the elements. And the bakery kind of wanted to talk, and the co-op wanted to talk about kind of the love that was given to this, why the pies taste so good and why they were so popular with their membership. And so we interviewed people who basically did the different stages of the pie production from front to back. And that started with the guy that grew the apples over near Milwaukee, and finished with it going on to a dinner table. So it was a very, very effective project. Students had a really awesome experience. The client threw them a few curves, was shot over the Thanksgiving holiday, and all of a sudden the co-op decided they were making 1,100 pies the week that we were supposed to shoot, and they just decided there was no way they could have us in the kitchen for that. So they delayed us a week, and that pushed our production actually past the end of the semester. So our students ended up working an extra week on this project beyond the end of the semester. They got it done. The client absolutely loved it. They signed up immediately to work again. And my current class is now one of 3 projects that we're doing is for the Creative Company, again, for the Mass and Literacy Network. And then we're also doing 2 projects, so a wellness project for the UW Hospital and a culinary project for the UW Hospital. So, in all, we've kind of been able to bring that real life experience and a real life set of problems so that clients have that need to be solved. Collaboration is kind of the essence of this art. This is not particularly a good art for somebody who wants to be by themselves. Mostly because the scope of what it is that we try to do in communicating a message is rather grand, and a lot because we are using so many different sensory drivers. It's really, really hard for us to do that all ourselves. So early on, we can kind of do that a little bit as we're trying to make a name for ourselves. But you'll find as you go on that being a director, being a cinematographer, being a lighting person, being a sound person, being an editor, being a graphics person, all of that rolled into one, it's pretty hard to kind of do that by yourself. So you really need to develop your people skills and develop a collaborative understanding of kind of what you're really good at. I may be able to do all of those skills, but I know that I'm not necessarily the best at all of those skills. So I'm finding, I'm looking, I'm networking, I'm working with my colleagues who in a lot of cases at school are my fellow students. They're kind of my first group of collaborators that help me get my work done and help me focus on the things that are important and help me get the most of my skills. And so even in my classes now, we go around, we introduce ourselves, and we talk about our skills. What is my strongest skill? That translates a lot into, so I actually encourage everyone to kind of do that from the get-go when they get to school. When we get to the business class, it's kind of all the chips are on the line. So we have a real client with problems that they want solved, and we are the person that's going to solve them. So we have to do it as a team. We look around the room, we kind of get a sense for who has which skills in the production process. Luckily, if we're really lucky, and we are again this year, there's one person who can be PA, who has the organizational and communication skills to kind of straw boss kind of all of the logistics for the project. That, I can't tell you how important that is, and it's the part of the art that's left behind, but it's the part that helps you become critical. Who gets you there on time, who makes sure the props are there, who arranges for the locations, who talks to the client, who answers all the stupid questions that come up as you go along the way. All of that is handled by the PA. You have a good cinematographer. You kind of find that team, and you put that team into this. And so that's a really, I think that's how the collaboration works. And it's really fun to see, certainly in the Willie Street project, and I'm hoping for our new projects, it's fun to see everybody kind of realize when they get to the end of the project that, wow, we all did this. and it all worked, and we made it, we made it happen, and we made the client happy. And having those, having that collaborative experience just reinforces kind of the approach that you would take kind of going forward. One of the other observations that I had when I first came to this organization, this institution, was that a lot of students were being taken advantage of by people out in the community. And the reason they were being taken advantage of is because they were students and they were naive about the business process and the way that things in business occur. So I felt that it was really, really important for us to instill in each student an understanding of that business culture and language and process that is actually exists in the business community. You become a target for people with less than honorable intentions when you don't speak the language and you get taken advantage of, and you get hired for projects that you don't get paid for, and you get hired for projects that you get paid 50 cents on a dollar for, or whatever else. And so it was really important to bring the business aspect into this program, because it really was critical for our students to survive, especially those first 6 months or 9 months after they graduate. I'm Bob, and I completely endorse this message.